Hey guys, so in this video we are going to talk about screwing up. Let's get into it. So the other day my boss contacted me, rather he came over, sorely disappointed in my performance, which is, you kind of see it. He comes in, sits down next to me, and he kind of goes, "So Fredrik," when that happens, you're in for a treat. So it's just, you can handle it however you want to. I usually just sit down and I kind of just brace myself and I go, all right, let's get this over. And he shoots me out a little bit and so forth. Now, the issue that he was upset about was that we had this story, one of the optimization stories that I was working on, and basically the first release, you may or may not know about content hashing, where for Webpack, for example, like when you want to be sure that you only update the files on the user's file system or in the browser if something has changed within the file. In other words, you don't generate a unique hash per build, you only generate a unique hash if something has changed in the structure or the dependencies of the file in question. Now, basically I had forgotten to use a content hash instead of a hash, so we generated a new hash on every rebuild, which meant that had we been releasing very often or fairly often, our users would have had to download the file over and over. So he identified this problem, I apologized for it, and I went to fix it. Now, I kind of just fixed it very quickly, and then I pushed it to production again. And now he comes back again and he says that, yeah, but it still doesn't work. And I go, well, I know it works. And he said, yeah, but you still have that question mark with another hash on top of it. So what I had forgotten was that the HTML plugin that Webpack uses in order to inject script tags into the HTML file, basically, that had still a configuration that injected the hash. And so he shooed me out a little bit about that, oh, this is costing us money, this is having, it takes a lot of maintenance if you make these mistakes, Fredrik, and so forth and so forth. He wasn't really all that happy about it. Now, the thing is that as I was sitting there and I was kind of just facing the music, because, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how I want to put it or what circumstances there are. He is right. I should have done better. The only thing that I had in my mind was that this was not that good. But at the same time, I also wanted to remind him, which it wouldn't have been constructive necessarily, but I wanted to remind him of that. The core issue here was, at least for me, was that the optimization story that I was working on was literally it was tons of stories. There was tons of stuff to do. There was tons of things to check and validate and so forth and so forth. And in the mess of doing all these things at the same time, because I'm going to be honest, I'm the sort of person who really likes to be able to finish one thing and then start on the next thing. But if I'm sitting on multiple shares at the same time, it's tricky for me to keep track of everything. That's at least how it works for me. And being the sort of go-to person that I am when it comes to everything that, we all work as full stack developers, but since I have more experience when it comes to JavaScript and front-end related things, most of the others come to me for these sorts of things. So when you're sitting on multiple shares, it's a little bit tricky for me, at least, to keep track of everything, and something slipped through the cracks. Now, I tried to tell him that I don't think that, the way that he's being upset in this fashion stands in proportion to the issue in question, because none of the users have really been impacted. We have tons of issues that will be more impactful than something like that every build produces a cache bust. That's not a big issue if you compare it to the other sorts of issues we've had. Now, once again, it's not an excuse, of course. But, anywho, and the second mistake that I made, which is, I can't really say much more about it, is that I did this fatal thing, and this is the thing I want to tell you guys. Because I thought that the only issue that I had caused, basically what I skipped the validation part on the second try of fixing this issue. Basically all I did was that I fixed the content hash, but I didn't validate that things actually were working because I was so sure that it was going to work. And that's the thing I want you to take away from this. You have to always check your work. Always check the work. And I should have done this because if I just had checked the stuff that I fixed, even because I didn't, because it was such, in my mind it was this tiny little thing that, I mean, I can't possibly fuck this up, right? But because in this scenario, the thing I fixed was not the thing that was the issue. It was something different, and I would have discovered that if I had actually validated it. So what I want you to kind of take away from this is that don't make the mental mistake that I made here. First and foremost, try to scope your stories fairly small so that, depending, if you are a multitasker, then go crazy. But if you're like me, try to segment things so that you do one thing, release that, and then you do one thing, you release that, and then you do one thing and you release that. Because if you're sitting on multiple shares, it gets really tricky to keep everything straight in your head and then validate and make sure that you tested everything. In this scenario, I had forgotten to test something. And second thing, don't make the small fix mistake, which is the thing that I call this, which is basically you think that the problem that you're solving is so small and so trivial, so you just kind of fix it and then you don't care about it. Once again, had I just checked it afterwards, everything would have been fine. But I didn't, so slap over the back of the head and do better in the future. Those are the only options open to me at this point. So yeah, take this from me, guys. Make sure that you respect regardless of what you're doing, respect your work enough to actually validate it once you have released it into production, or ideally before you release it. Have a great day.